What if the father of logic and virtue left behind a list of truths too dangerous for the masses? Aristotle's Blacklist, concepts too dangerous for the public. They teach Aristotle in schools as the calm voice of reason, the philosopher of balance, of golden means, of order and harmony. But that's only the version they want you to see. The sanitized Aristotle, the safe one. Beneath the lectures on ethics and virtue, Aristotle encoded a darker current, a warning, a strategy, a blacklist, not of people, but of ideas, concepts he considered too powerful, too disruptive, too easily corrupted for the average mind. Not because people were evil, but because they were too easily swayed, too hungry for simplicity, too allergic to responsibility. These ideas weren't hidden because they were false, but because they were too true. And in the wrong hands, they could burn entire civilizations to the ground. He called it esotericism, the practice of teaching one truth publicly and another privately. To the inner circle, the ones ready to see clearly, he shared something else entirely. Something raw, unfiltered, unsparing. The philosopher's version of classified intel. This wasn't elitism, it was realism. He believed most people don't want truth, they want comfort. And real truth, it doesn't comfort, it destabilizes. So what was on Aristotle's Blacklist? Let's explore the forbidden chapters, the truths you were never meant to inherit. The myth of equality. Aristotle did not believe all humans were equal, not in intelligence, not in virtue, not in capacity for reason. And though modern minds recoil at this, his point was less about oppression and more about responsibility. To him, equality of potential was a dangerous illusion because it leads to misplaced trust, naive governance, and the elevation of emotion over reason. He believed that only a few should rule, not by birthright, but by inner mastery, and that giving power to the untrained mind was like giving a blade to a child. This is why democracy terrified him. Rhetoric as weapon. You were taught rhetoric as persuasion, harmless, elegant. But to Aristotle, rhetoric was warfare, a science of shaping perception, a tool to bend truth without breaking it. He divided rhetoric into ethos, pathos, and logos, not for communication, but for control. Ethos, make them trust you. Pathos, make them feel. Logos, make them think you're being rational. Use all three, and you can guide minds like sheep. He feared this power in the hands of the immoral because it works regardless of truth. Rhetoric, he said, can make the worse argument appear better. That wasn't praise, it was warning. The manufactured self. Aristotle believed identity was not fixed. The soul wasn't a pre-written script. It was an evolving structure shaped by habit. What you repeatedly do, you become. This was revolutionary and dangerous because it meant no one is inherently virtuous. They're just trained. And if you can train someone into virtue, you can also train them into vice. This concept, when taken to its extreme, erases the idea of moral absolutes. It means your personality, your values, your purpose are programmable. Who gets to do the programming? That was the real question. Controlled ignorance. Not all knowledge is beneficial. Some truths, Aristotle believed, were better left hidden, from the masses and sometimes even from oneself. He warned that certain kinds of knowledge, particularly those about power, persuasion, and manipulation, could rot a soul unprepared for responsibility. The idea that some truths can deform rather than liberate goes against modern ideals. But Aristotle wasn't trying to be popular. He was trying to be accurate. Knowledge without virtue, he wrote, is a sword without a hand. The utility of religion. This may be the most controversial of all. Aristotle was no atheist, but his view of religion was strategic. He saw belief systems as necessary illusions, social glue to hold the masses in place. He admired religion's ability to enforce moral behavior, even if the theology was myth. For the average citizen, gods were not real beings, but real tools. That's why religious frameworks appear in all stable civilizations. Not because they're true, but because they're useful. Expose the illusion too early and the system collapses. The tyranny of majority emotion. He believed mobs are not made of evil people, but of untethered emotion. Logic is slow, emotion is instant, and when emotion rules, destruction follows. Aristotle believed that once the mob is inflamed, reason is drowned. He feared demagogues, those who use fear and flattery to lead the masses astray. He saw them as intellectual assassins, and the only antidote was elite governance, rule by those who had mastered their own minds. That wasn't aristocracy, it was philosocracy, government by inner clarity. The invisibility of real power. Power, Aristotle wrote, is most effective when it is felt, not seen. He believed that overt displays of authority provoke resistance, but subtle influence? That reshapes societies from within. He warned that the most dangerous leaders aren't the ones on the throne. They're the ones behind the curtain, those who shape laws, narratives, values, and if they can remain invisible, they can remain eternal. He called them the architects. Excellence is not a right, it's a discipline. In a culture obsessed with self-esteem, Aristotle's view feels brutal. You are not excellent by nature. You become excellent through habitual struggle. Already, excellence was not a feeling. It was the byproduct of virtue under pressure. You could not claim it. You had to earn it. Daily, through action, reflection, restraint, and very few were willing to do the work. This idea was withheld from the masses because it kills entitlement, and a people without entitlement are harder to manipulate. Real freedom requires hierarchy. This may sound paradoxical, but to Aristotle, freedom was not the absence of rules. It was the presence of the right structure. Hierarchy was not oppression, it was alignment. Without hierarchy, every voice demands to be heard equally. And when no voice leads, the loudest rules. He believed in meritocratic hierarchy. Those who've mastered themselves should guide those who haven't, not forever, but until discipline is born. Without this, liberty decays into license, and license into chaos. Philosophy as a weapon, not a hobby. Philosophy today is marketed as thought experiments, classroom exercises, academic banter. But to Aristotle, philosophy was battle prep, a toolkit for those who shape the future. He taught his students to analyze politics, biology, logic, ethics, not to theorize, but to intervene. To know where to place the idea that shifts a generation, where to cut the illusion, where to plant the seed of rebellion or order. In the wrong hands, philosophy is a narcotic. In the right hands, it's a sword. Final words. Why you were never meant to see this. Aristotle wasn't hiding these truths out of malice. He feared what happens when raw power enters untrained minds. He believed the mind must be forged before it is freed. But that era has passed. Now the world burns with manipulated minds, unearned outrage, and leaders who weaponize illusion. The Blacklist is no longer a secret, it's a survival guide. If you made it this far, you are no longer part of the crowd. You're holding the forbidden scroll. What you do with it is your test. Like this video, subscribe, activate the bell, and share it with one mind that's ready to escape the herd. Comment below, which of these forbidden truths hit you hardest? You've just read what Aristotle never wanted the mob to learn. Use it wisely.